Hidden in the misty hills and lush valleys of northeast India are stories of warriors, revolutionaries, and visionaries that the history books often forget. Stories of men and women who shaped the destiny of their people with incredible courage and conviction. Welcome back. In this series, we're diving deep into the lives of Northeast India's most prominent personalities and formidable tribal leaders. And today, we're unraveling the fascinating saga of a man who journeyed from the heart of a rebellion to the helm of political power, Sir Hagrama Mohilary. From commanding a militant group to winning peace accords and elections, his life is a thriller you won't believe is true. So make sure you're subscribed to this channel and have that notification bell turned on. And if you enjoy this deep dive, please leave a like and share this video with your friends. It costs you nothing, but it means the world to this blog and helps us tell more of these incredible stories. Now let's get started. The Bridge Builder, the story of Hagrama Mohilary and the Bodo dream. In the lush, green heart of Assam, where the monsoon rains wash over the tea gardens and the mighty Brahmaputra carves its path, lies a land steeped in a fierce and proud history, the Bodoland. And to understand this land, one must understand the man who became its most defining architect, Hagrama Mohilary. His story is not just one of political triumph, but a deeply emotional saga of a boy from a humble village who grew up amidst turmoil and dedicated his life to building peace for his people. Hagrama's childhood was shadowed by strife and turmoil. Hagrama's story begins not in a palace or a city, but in the simple, earthy surroundings of a Bodo village. Born in 1966, his early childhood in the Kokrajhar district was initially filled with the simple rhythms of rural life. But this innocence was fragile, a tiny boat on a rising tide of unrest. As he grew, the air around him thickened with tension. The Bodo people, one of the largest indigenous communities of northeast India, had long felt marginalized. Their unique language, culture, and identity were fading, overshadowed by a pervasive sense of neglect and political alienation. Young Hagrama saw this. He felt it in the anxious conversations of elders and witnessed it in the struggle for basic rights and dignity. This simmering discontent eventually erupted into a fierce armed movement for a separate state. The 1980s and 90s were dark times. The idyllic landscapes of his youth became stages for violence, fear, and profound loss. Many young men, friends and acquaintances of Hagrama, picked up arms, believing it was the only way to be heard. The sound of gunfire became tragically familiar, a brutal lullaby for a generation. It was in this crucible of conflict that Hagrama's character was forged. But unlike many, his response to the violence was not one of more violence. He joined the movement, but his path was different. He became a part of the Bodo Liberation Tigers, BLT, but his leadership would soon chart a radically different course. The pain he witnessed, the bloodshed, the fractured communities, the mothers mourning their sons, planted a seed in his heart, a burning desire for peace, not through victory in battle, but through dialogue. How did Hagrama Mohilary come to the turning, from guns to accord? Hagrama rose through the ranks of the BLT, but he carried with him the heavy weight of the community's suffering. He realized that while the gun brought attention, it could never build a home, a school, or a future. The relentless cycle of violence was only bleeding the very community it sought to liberate. In a move that required immense courage and conviction, Hagrama Mohilary made a monumental decision. He chose to lay down his arms. In 2003, he led the BLT to the negotiating table with the government of India. This was not a sign of surrender, but a strategic, brave pivot towards a more sustainable solution. The result was the historic Bodoland Territorial Council, BTC Accord, 2003 with the central government and state government. This wasn't the separate state some had fought for, but it was something powerful, autonomy. It was a promise of self-governance, a framework for the Bodo people to finally control their own destiny, develop their region, and protect their cherished culture. The achievement of building BTC, the dream had to done brick by brick. Miles of roads infrastructure for schools, hospitals, governmental projects, and most of all, maintain peace in the region, all now lay at his disposal. This is what they had been fighting for. Becoming the chief of the BTC, Hagrama Mohilary transformed himself from a guerrilla leader into a statesman. His true achievements began here, in the arduous task of turning a Bodoland territorial accord into a living, breathing reality. His work was his tribute to his community and to the nation. Let's go through some of them. Hagrama Mohilary will always be remembered as the architect of peace in Bodoland. His greatest gift to the Bodos and to Assam was peace itself. He ended decades of bloody conflict, bringing a fragile but tangible stability to a region torn apart. He gave mothers the assurance that their sons would return home at night. He gave farmers the confidence to till their fields without fear. Friends, you can also credit him to be the guardian of Bodo culture. For a community terrified of cultural erosion, Hagrama became a bulwark. He fiercely championed the Bodo language, ensuring its promotion and preservation. He supported traditional arts, music, and the vibrant festivals that are the soul of the Bodo people. He made the Bodos feel proud, visible, and valued on their own land. Friends, one must also remember during the late 90s, this part of north bank of the river Brahmaputra, the area lacked any tiny concrete infrastructure. The remote, neglected villages like the one he grew up in finally saw development. Under his leadership, roads connected isolated hamlets, bridges spanned rivers that once divided communities, and electricity began to pulse through new lines. He built schools so the next generation could learn, and hospitals so that a child's fever wouldn't become a family tragedy. To do this governmental schemes, it takes time and money, which was probably provided both by the central government and state government. We again saw police station operational and law and order being maintained. Within few years of Bodoland Territorial Council Accord, there was peace, development, and governance. Friends, least you forget, sir, Hagrama Mohilary was the champion for education in BTC. Understanding that knowledge is the ultimate liberator, he established educational institutions and provided scholarships. He empowered Bodo youth to dream not just of a job within Bodoland, but of conquering the world with their talent, armed with education. Hagrama Mohilary's story is a human story. It is the story of a man who looked at the landscape of his youth, scarred by conflict, and chose to become a healer. He traded the gun for a blueprint, and his battlefield became the drafting table of governance. The path hasn't been perfectly smooth, and political journeys are never without complexity. But my friends, the emotional core of his legacy remains undeniable. He is the bridge builder who built bridges of concrete to connect lands and bridges of dialogue to connect hearts between religious minorities, different tribes, and indigenous people of this region. From the fearful child of a conflicted land, he became the father of a modern Bodoland, ensuring that the dreams of his generation would not be the casualties of the next. Hagrama Mohilary is an Indian politician now who has served as the first chief executive member of the Bodoland Territorial Council from 2005 to 2010, 2020 representing the Deborjan constituency. He is the chairperson of the Bodoland People's Front and had been the head of Bodoland Territorial Council since its inception in 2003. He won the third General Assembly elections 2015 and formed his government for the third time. Mohilary was the chief of the Bodo Liberation Tigers, BLT, before joining the mainstream politics in 2003. BLTF was founded on the 18th of June 1996 by Hagrama Mohilary and Prem Singh Brahma. Later, Hagrama Mohilary became the chief of Bodo Liberation Tigers Force. So friends, if you like this episode, kindly leave a like and comment. Until the next episode, my friends, thank you for watching, and good Lord keep you safe. I am your friend, Tribal IQ.